loves me, then I want to please him. People who continue in sin are people whose mind hasn't changed about how God loves them. People who continue in sin are people whose mind has not changed about how God loves them. People who continue in sin think like this. Well, I smoked that joint yesterday, so, oh well, I've already messed up with God, so I may well drink this Hennessy today. Oh well, I've already messed up with God, so I'm high, I'm drunk. Well, I may as well go find me somebody because I'm already messed up with God. People whose mind has not changed are people who think like that. They're people who think, I smoked the joint, so I'm guilty, and so I don't want to go to church. I'm going to stay away from church, folks. So you got to watch yourself when you start staying away from church. You need to start asking yourself why. Because I'm trying to tell you, if any of those reasons, I've not done right, I've not done well, I'm not good, all of our righteousness is as filthy rags. None of us have done well enough, good enough, great enough to be loved by God. His love for us is not contingent upon us. His love for us is contingent upon him. He loves us out of his character, not ours. Look at your neighbor and tell him, my mind is changing right now. I'm getting ready to wrap this up because I've been up here too long. And so the first mark of a strong disciple is I've got right believing. The second mark of a strong disciple is I've got right thinking. But look at your neighbor and tell him, and the third mark is I've got right results. Look at somebody near you and tell them, my results are about to become favorable. You ever go to the doctor and they run some tests and then they tell you we're going to call you back in a few weeks when we get the results? And sometimes you're nervous because you're waiting on the results because they've already told you we see something, we're not quite sure what it is. Look at your neighbor and tell them, I have favorable results. Here is how you can think like that. When your mind changes, then you understand that I am dominion. Then you understand that Jehovah Rapha lives on the inside of me. In essence, divine healing, not just healing from one situation, but I walk in divine health because of who I'm connected to. In the book of 2 Chronicles, just one more story to take you home. The Bible tells us a story in chapter number 20. You can go home and read it later, verses 1 through about verse number 24. The story of a man named Jehoshaphat. Look at your neighbor and tell him he had some stuff going on. The Bible tells us that the children of Judah were all of a sudden, they're being attacked, and they're being attacked on every side. Have you ever gone through something that seemed like it was rising up on your left and your right? Have all of your bills been due at one time and there was not enough money in the bank account on the right side? Have you ever been dealing with a challenge at work where the people were getting on your nerves and you were looking for another job, but the places you had sent your resume to were not calling you back? Have you ever been in a situation where everything at the house seemed like it was falling apart and breaking down? Look at your neighbor and tell him, but my mind is changing. And so sometimes every place you go, every place you turn, there is trouble. Left, right, before you, behind you. There's something going on that just doesn't make sense. And every now and then you get to a place where you feel immobilized. You feel stuck. You feel hopeless. And you even feel helpless. But I want you to understand that because God loves you so much, even when you are surrounded by powerful foes in your life, even when you are surrounded by situations that have you crying in secret, you may be praising in public, but that's just to throw people off. You just want to get people off of you and get people out of your face. You don't want to tell them the real story because you don't want anybody's pity, and then you don't want anybody in your business. When the financial challenges are too great, you don't tell everybody about that. When the medical condition comes back unfavorable, you don't tell everybody about that. When you find yourself dealing with mental and psychological challenges, you certainly don't tell everybody about that. Well, I want you to understand that sometimes we become afraid when we're surrounded by so much. And we become just like Jehoshaphat. We become afraid and fearful. And so Jehoshaphat's first response to all all of this stuff around him was simply a response of fear. But I come tonight to remind somebody that God is still the center of everything in your life. And when he is, you got to understand that your prayers have got to be centered around God. Your situation is not the center of your prayer. Your God is the center of your prayer. And so Jehoshaphat now goes to God and he begins to talk to God about their dilemma. And he goes because he is wanting some hope. He is wanting a favorable outcome. Jehoshaphat goes to God because he is hopeful, because he understands if I talk to God, God's going to give me an answer and a strategy that's going to bless my life. In essence, I am looking for a favorable and a confident outcome. Look at your neighbor and tell him, I'm looking for favor.